So there's two themes this morning. Sabbath and keeping the Sabbath. I'm going out to Lowe's after this, or Rona or something. Keeping the Sabbath. We've all been a part of that debate. And the bent over woman. And both of them need a little Shekinah. So this is Shekinah, our little dog, and this is Sally, and this is our mascot, and this is what football day looks like in our house. Sabbath is an interesting word. We all understand it to be Sunday. But at some point a while ago, Sally and I were wondering about how we were going to keep our Sabbath, since often Sunday felt like less of a Sabbath time for us and more of a giving time. So we started on Friday mornings, the first day of our weekend, to go to Starbucks. And we would talk about all the week's work and all of the theology that we'd been discovering that was right before us all along, and we never really realized it. And once we had that out of our system, then we could go out and do what we needed to do with the day and the weekend and stop talking about church. That's what it's like with two clergy in the house. Well, Sabbath Friday morning at Starbucks became quite an amazing experience. So we from that time, we've done a funeral and a wedding for people that work at Starbucks. And there were regulars that would get to know us, and we always tell people we're ministers. Not right away, we like to joke around for a while. But once they do, it's amazing how many stories they have. So that was our Sabbath. And so I'm here today to say that the seventh day alone is not enough to bring Sabbath to us. Sabbath arrives by the presence of God, the indwelling Spirit. And in Hebrew, her name is Shekinah, a feminine blessing who enters as the presence of God into the midst of the faithful. Shekinah is understood as the transformational Spirit of God, the source of prophecy, and the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee is a prelude to most prophetic visions and mysticism. And for Christians, these words are prelude to the Annunciation and Pentecost. The Shekinah is also wisdom, the feminine presence of God. When we found our little puppy, she was calling out to us among the whole litter. She was the one, this little one. And we both knew it. And we named her Shekinah for a book we read called The Feminine Face of God. And our little perennial puppy is truly the face and presence of God in our life. There is much mysticism about Shekinah in Judaism. It is said that she enters Jerusalem through the beautiful gate. It is said that the Messiah will enter through that very gate with her. And this is the gate tradition says Jesus used to enter Palm Sunday. And it has been walled up for nearly 1,000 years because of fear that those sayings, those it has been said, might come true. Still, Shekinah comes into the world, not just in the form of a little puppy, but in many forms. She comes all around the world to tables with lit candles where Sabbath bread is blessed by women bending over it. She comes to the pure of heart and the prayerful, to the humble and the weeping. She comes to the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem and to places weeping anywhere. Leonard Nimoy, known to most of us as Star Trek Spock, was raised an Orthodox Jew and wrote a book about her, Shekinah. in 2002. In it he wrote, "A feminine word in Hebrew, Shekinah, is the Talmudic term for the visible and audible manifestations of the deity's presence on earth. Over time, Shekinah came to represent much more, a softer, emphatic, feminine counterpart to God, who could argue for humanity's sake, comfort the poor and the sick, and stand as the mother of Israel." Who knew Spock would write a book like that? In Luke's story that I read, Jesus was preaching in a synagogue. A woman so bent over she could not stand up appeared. Everyone knew she had been like this for 18 years, and everyone knew it was a spirit that was bending her. So Jesus freed her. And an argument began. Was he breaking Sabbath by doing this work? Sabbath kept as a day of rest? Jesus argued he was doing Sabbath and being Sabbath. He pointed out that those who were there would not hesitate to keep their animals, even on the Sabbath. In Luke's tale, the bent-over woman has no name. This woman whom Jesus unburdens and sets free. But isn't she Shekinah? An ordinary woman, yes, for God is always among us as an ordinary being. But isn't she also the presence of God? Burdened and bent? By what is she bent? Perhaps she is bent by occupation of Israel. Perhaps she is bent by the flagging hope of the prayerful. Perhaps by the limited spiritual vision of the leaders of this time. Perhaps by secret sins. How many ways can you think of someone being bent over here in our community? There are many burdens here at First United and in Salmon Arm, and in BC and in Canada. Perhaps there are those among us that are bent over maybe by secrecy, perhaps by absence of faith, perhaps by misunderstandings and a lack of prayerful consideration. Maybe there are those bent over by the grief they carry or the hurts they feel or the illness that is within them. They might be bent over because of choices they made or didn't make. Whatever the reason, they are burdened and bent. The Shekinah is kept away by all these burdens, whether on Sabbath or any other day. The presence of God. In Jewish commentaries, sins that keep the Shekinah away are listed, as well as pieties that bring her near. So the 10 men praying in the synagogue brings her near, it is written. And among the sins that drive her off, the shedding of blood, adultery, and whoever sins in secret or walks with a proud and haughty bearing. These crowd out the feet of the Shekinah. So you see, we need Shekinah to come near. How do we turn things around so that she is able to draw near? Jesus spends much of his ministry setting the Sabbath free. Think about it. We spend so much time talking about what you can and cannot do on a Sunday, or whether you should or whether you can't, or what you shouldn't, and what's it stand for. Jesus spent his whole ministry trying to set the Sabbath free. He stretches the spirits of the people to make room for the possibility that Sabbath is more than dull repetition of mindless prayers. He stretches the hope of the people to imagine what they have never seen. He stretches the health of the people so that they may mount up on wings like eagles, may run and not be afraid. And many are alarmed. Fear of falling has made them more careful than watchful, more careful than eager, more careful than adventuresome. He calls them hypocrites for preaching what they will not practice, teaching what they do not believe. We all have bent over stories. That's why you see a picture of me in there, and Sally, and people of all kinds. In our 21st century, we live out this ritual argument Sunday by Sunday. The faithful, and many pastors too, rise up against new music, new prayers, new furniture, new images of God as woman, as poor, as creatures, as water and trees, pleading. And especially hard to present on Sunday is the recognition of too much pain. We don't want to talk about the pain on Sunday morning. Pain, the indignity of those bent over by injustice, like those living in new forms of family, is unwelcome by those who, on Sabbath, expect to be cheered up. Blinded to the sight of the bent and the broken, many churchgoers have come to consider this acceptable. Yet the most ancient of commentaries about Sabbath make it clear that we bring the presence of God to us by our welcome, our hope, and our help. And for Christians, the wounded body is the ever-aching divine appeal to faithful hearts. Have you seen the picture yet of the tattooed woman? Yes. On Sunday mornings, many who are not in church may have heard an interview, this is in Colorado, with Reverend Nadia Bolz-Weber, and that's the tattooed woman, a Lutheran pastor in Colorado. Her arms and neck are covered with tattoos, and she wears her hair in a faux hawk do. Faux hawk do. Say that 3 times real fast. She has started a church called Church for All Sinners and Saints, which is now attended by hundreds who would never enter a traditional church, who look more like her than like church folks, who have no tolerance, who look more like her than church folks who have no tolerance for, and she has no tolerance for sedate middle-class ways. Asked about her appearance, Reverend Bolz-Weber said, "The places I hang out in Denver, in some ways I look like a soccer mom." In the Sabbath debate, she is standing with Jesus, and she is standing upright in her full stature as a bringer of Sabbath in this world, as Shekinah. May it be so.